I wrote an article recently for Entrepreneur Magazine, and basically I was just talking about the difference between freelancing and becoming a CEO. What is the difference? Well, first of all, this book, which is near and dear to my heart, Rich 20-something, this is my baby, and it's basically all on freelancing. The idea about freelancing is you have skills that are assets to you. Those skills can get you paid, and you make money for the amount of time you spend performing that skill or for the certain project, the length, the duration. So freelancers all over the world have learned to make a lot of money just with what they already know how to do, or by acquiring new skills and then delivering those. And you can make a lot of money freelancing. When I was freelancing at my peak, and I first started doing SAT, ACT test prep, so like test prep strategy, teaching and training high school students for affluent families, I was charging between 80 and 120 bucks an hour. That's pretty good, okay? That's pretty good money no matter where you are, at least in the US. And then when I started doing web design and web development, I was charging about the same, but I was spending a little bit less time on that, and it was also mobile, so for me it was worth it. But then I started to realize that there were certain limitations around freelancing. One was just, first of all, there's only so much time in a day, and of that time, there's only so much productive time you could have. So whether it was like having to drive around to different clients or to different locations and not taking up a lot of my time and not really getting to the work because I'm constantly in transit, or whether it was because, there's like if I'm working on a project, there's only so much creative juice you have in a day, so much energy that you can put into like working and doing deep work. I think I have Cal Newport's book here, Deep Work. How much deep work can one do in a day? And if you're doing creative and freelancing stuff, you're expected to do a lot. So I was realizing that was a limitation, and then just realizing that there's also a limitation to how much money I can charge for a specific service. And this is arguable. There's always the party that will say raise your rates, and I'm usually part of that thought process. But at the same time, if you're already at the high end of a price range, you can't 5x it again. So there are really just some limitations behind the freelancing model, which for me showed me that I was going to have to ascend the ladder of entrepreneurship in order to really get what I wanted out of building the business, which was autonomy and freedom of time, and also the ability to really scale at scale. And in order to do that, in order to build a company that sustained itself, you have to become a CEO. There's a big difference between freelancing and CEOing, okay? Freelancers, again, they see their time as their money. CEOs see the systems and the organization as the money creator, and they're getting paid for the performance of the machine, okay? They go in there, and as long as the machine performs well, they're gonna get paid because everything's set up to create revenue. Now, in a corporate situation, the CEO might not even be the main big boss, because there's also the board of directors, there's usually shareholders, and then of course there's the actual customers themselves. Another core difference between freelancers and CEOs is freelancers see every dollar that they bring in as theirs. So if you're doing graphic design work for somebody, when they pay you, that money is yours. That's one way to look at it, and that's fine, that's personal income. But you do realize that when you think about it that way, when you look at it like that, you're really just thinking about it like a job, like a paycheck. CEOs see every dollar that they bring in as not theirs necessarily, but their company's dollar, right? And the company would of course pay them, but the company has operating expenses, it has taxes, it has profit that it needs to set aside if you're using the profit first model, which we use in all our businesses. And also there's owner pay, So there are all these different categories that businesses need to be aware of where the money is flowing. And if you're just a freelancer, you're taking that money and you're literally completing the job, and then you're paying your rent. And that's how you start, and that's fine. But as you level up to CEO, if you really want to start growing not just a business, but a full company, then you need to start thinking about all the money that comes in, not as your personal money, but as the company's money. Does that make sense? Another key difference I've noticed between freelancers and CEOs is that freelancers, they love to be the expert. They love to be the go-to. They love to be the person, the know-it-all, a lot of times, person to fix the problem. I can tell you this for certain. Now that I'm not doing all the work inside of my businesses, I don't feel the need to constantly flex how much I know, even if I do know a lot about a given area. You think about this like Ray Dalio. Ray Dalio in Principles talks about believability. When you're working with a team and you're hiring people because they are good, because they are the best at what they do, then you want them to be right about their area of expertise, and you're hoping that they know more than you know. That's why they say A players hire A players, B players hire C players so they can remind them about how smart they are and how capable they are. If you're hiring other A players, you are going to have times where you're going to defer to them because they're going to know more than you. And freelancers might have some ego around this. They might have some ego around taking the direction or opinion or consideration of others into their work, because usually freelancers are creatives. They have that artist's flair to them. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the idea that CEOs are open to their board of directors, in a sense, that are or open to other people, other leaders collaborating with them, that's really where you want to head, because you're not going to be able to figure out every challenge through your own knowledge. You don't have all the experience you're going to need. You don't have all the skills you're going to need. And that's why you bring other people in. CEOs, even if they're not always comfortable with it, in order to grow, have to become comfortable with that at some point. Otherwise, they won't have any support, and you need others to scale the company. You can't do it all yourself. You can't do it all alone. You're going to need to bring others in. In order to do that, you have to be equitable with the way that you consider them. Okay, how can I put this? You have to let go a bit, step back a bit. It's okay if not every client interaction goes through you. When you are the only person talking to your clients, that's a freelancer to client relationship. When you have someone else helping you to organize, to manage, to keep accountable, to keep on top of client relationships, now you're building an organization. That's what you want. You don't want necessarily the client relationship to be between you and the client. You don't want necessarily only to have an individual relationship with the client. You want the client to associate a positive outcome for their business with your company. This is why, if you watch our marketing and our ads, I will still talk about Profit Paradigm, I'll still talk about Alpha Mentorship, but most of the advertisement for Alpha Mentorship will come from the Alpha Mentorship marketing accounts, like if you were to follow us on Facebook. It's okay that your clients recognize you as the leader of the business or as the CEO. It's okay that you still maintain the relationships that you have with those clients, especially if you've had them for months or years. But you want to, as a general rule, start to have your clients develop relationships with other team members, or team members who are going to help to guide them when you're not around. You want them to start associating their success with your company and not just you. And the reason why you want to do that is because you don't want to be the bottleneck to progress. You don't want to be that deal breaker where if you can't get on a call, the client's not happy. You don't want to be that roadblock where when you go to sell the company, it'll only work if you stay on. Right? You don't want to be the rainmaker. You don't want to be the only one with the answers. That's actually a bad position for you as the leader, as the CEO. As the freelancer, that's okay. But as a CEO, that has to change. So it really comes down to empowering other people, empowering other leaders in the business to make decisions, empowering other people to have client-facing roles. And again, there's definitely a transition period from freelancer to CEO, and it doesn't happen all overnight, but it's something to think about, because you're not going to be able to do it all forever. You can't wear all the hats. In order for you to grow, you really have to think about how you're going to strategically delegate those roles and responsibilities. So freelancer to CEO, a lot of big differences. A lot of challenges in moving from that spot to, the top of the ladder. But it's not without its fun parts too. I mean, the great part about really growing into a CEO and building an agency is you can truly scale. There's only so much you can do as a freelancer. There's only so much money you can make. And when you adopt the agency model, you're able to hire people under you to get things done, to get things moving faster, to increase the quality of your products and your services, to really make this something that doesn't depend on you. You can start to have some distance from it. It might seem easier right now just to keep doing what you're doing because it's already working, but easy right now doesn't always equate to profitable or useful in the long term. And so you got to start thinking, more in longer increments of time. with a bigger vision, and stop working always on the business, or in the business, but sometimes on the business as well, where you're not just always thinking about what does the client need today, but you're actively stepping back and saying, what am I trying to accomplish here this quarter, this year, these next 3-5 years? And that's how you're going to start to come to the realization that in order to scale, there are some extra pieces that you need. So anyway, that's my rant on Freelancer to CEO. More information on this, you can check me out. alphamentorship.com is where we have all the articles on agency growth and scaling. If you want to see basically the diagram that we drew up for how to grow an agency to $50,000 per month, you can check out alphamentorship.com/50K. All those links are in the description below. Also, check out the podcast. I have a pretty good description on Freelancer to CEO mentality on the podcast as well. The Daniel D. Piazza Show, that's in the links as well. Leave a comment below with more questions that you have, and I'll answer them on the next video. And don't forget to like and subscribe. All right, much love. Peace.